This Development Budget Coordinating Council hearing is hereby called to order. And let me direct the committee secretary to acknowledge our guests for today, and then we'll proceed with the proceedings.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning. For the continuation of the DBCC briefing on the 2026 national budget, for the Department of Budget and Management, Secretary Amena Pangandaman is already on the way. For the Department of Economy, Planning and Development, or DepDev, we have Secretary Arsenio Balisacan. Good morning, sir. For the Department of Finance, we have Secretary Ralph Recto. For the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, we have Governor Eli M. Romolona Jr. And for the Office of the Special Assistant to the President for Investment and Economic Affairs, or OSAPEA, we have Yusek Maria Angela Ignacio. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Committee Secretary. I understand that Senator Recto has an opening statement and also a continuation of, no more continuation of the presentation. I think yesterday. I think there was CUSEC. Yeah, we can proceed with the presentation, and then after, if Secretary Balisacan has any presentation or comments, we can.
Okay, sure.
We can proceed with that.
I thought you presented yesterday. Okay.
Portion lang, sir.
Okay. Ready?
Yes,
Mr.
yes.
Chairman?
Yeah,
thank
go
you
ahead,
very much.
Secretary Recto.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for this opportunity to brief the Senate about our fiscal position. It feels good to be back in these halls, which served as my second home for decades. Whereas before, I would be excited to see what advocacies of mine have been funded in the budget. Now I dread doing the same. This is all because I am now the government's chief fundraiser. It is us in the DOF who must raise the money to build the roads that connect us, to ensure every Filipino has access to quality education and to healthcare, to secure our food supply, and to create opportunities for all to dream bigger. In a word, we fund the nation's progress and bring us closer to Ambition 2040, a prosperous middle-class society future where poverty is eradicated. But before we begin to discuss how we intend to fulfill our duty over the medium term, let us first take a step back and look at where this administration began. For our fiscal outlook can only be fully understood within the context of these circumstances we inherited and the global trends that heavily influence our course forward. So allow me to provide this briefly. To start with, this administration came at a time when we needed to rescue an economy flatlined by the pandemic. Bumagsak ang ating ekonomiya ng 9.5%, pinakamababa mula World War II, and the past administration left us with a massive debt of 12.8 trillion pesos. And against this backdrop, we navigate an ocean of global uncertainties. Nariyan ang Russia-Ukraine war, El Nino, Israel-Gaza war, Israel-Iran war, geopolitical tensions with China, a Cold War, and now the rise of trade wars. Around the time we crafted the first medium-term fiscal framework in 2022, the world still hoped for a smooth post-pandemic recovery. But these geopolitical tensions interrupted this recovery. That is why when I took on the Finance Secretary hat, my first move was to recalibrate our growth and fiscal targets. We now review these targets regularly to keep them attainable, realistic, and adaptive to global headwinds, while staying firmly anchored on sustainable growth. Our refined fiscal program now charts a realistic path to reduce our deficit and debt while creating more jobs, raising incomes, and lifting millions of Filipinos out of poverty along the way. And crucial to this is ensuring that every peso collected or borrowed by the DOF into perspective. The 2025 national budget stands at 6.35 trillion pesos, of which only 4.64 trillion pesos are supportable by revenues. Ibig sabihin, ang gastusin ng gobyerno ay aabot sa 17.4 billion piso kada araw, but only 12.72 billion pesos per day will be financed by revenue collections, Monday to Sunday, every 24 hours, kada 24 na oras. At nagpapasalamat po kami sa ating mga taxpayer, lalo na sa ating middle class, para sa kanilang sipag, tiyaga at ambag para umasenso ang ating bayan. And against this Herculean task of funding a gargantuan budget, the DOF also needs to scout for more resources without inflicting new taxes or That is why the DOF hiked GOCC dividend rates to 75% from 50%, which is now one of our major sources of non-tax revenues. And that is why we are privatizing more underutilized government assets. The BIR and BOC have also stepped up with higher collection performances through digitalization, strict enforcement, and plugging of leakages in the tax system, especially from e-commerce. So far, we are on track to meet our targets, with revenue collections growing by double digits for the last 3 years at an average of 13.8% annually. Tax collections have also consistently expanded at an average of 11.5% annually. In fact, in 2024, we achieved a revenue effort of 16.7%, the highest in the last 27 years. We are also on course to meet our fiscal program for the year, having already achieved half of our targets. As of mid-year, our tax collection continued to post double-digit growth, totaling 2.03 trillion pesos. This is 10.7% higher than last year. This robust performance places us among Asia's top revenue to GDP ratios at 16.7% for the first half of 2025. Our expenditures also grew by 9.5% in the first half of the year, reaching 3.03 trillion pesos. Meanwhile, our fiscal deficit for the first half stood at 765 billion pesos, within our mid-year target. As a percentage of GDP, our deficit remains manageable at 5.7% for the first semester, but our full-year target is 5.5%. With tax collections projected to grow by an average of 10.2% annually from 2025 to 2028, total revenues are on track to hit nearly 6 trillion pesos by the end of the president's term. By 2030, our total revenues will hit 7 trillion pesos. This means that we are asking the BIR and BOC to work harder and boost efficiency at a faster pace. Our projections also took into account the additional revenues from recently enacted reforms, including the VAT on digital services and the Capital Markets Efficiency Promotion Act. We also expect more revenues from the rationalization of the mining fiscal regime and explore the possibility of having a general tax amnesty. With higher government revenue collections and improved expenditure management, our fiscal deficit is projected to drop from the pandemic high of 8.6% in 2021 to 5.5% in 2025 and down to about 4% by 2028. It will further drop to around 3% by 2030. And crucial to this is ensuring that we prevent wasteful expenditures. Kaya naman kami sa DOF ay mariing nagkukondena sa mga anomalya at sa kapakanan ng taong bayan. Yung iba, naging multo pa. Dahil sa mga ghost projects, nawalan po ang ating ekonomiya ng 42.3 billion hanggang 118.5 billion piso mula 2023 hanggang 2025. Katumbas po nito ang 95,000 hanggang 266,000 na trabaho na sanay na pakinabangan ng ating mga kababayan. That is why we fully support the President's directive to closely scrutinize the national budget. We prepared the NEP with the President to ensure that the projects to be funded in 2026 have the highest multiplier effect. Walang ghost project dapat, walang korupsyon, walang sayang na piso. In the DOF, we always champion two crucial principles. Una, ikalkula na mabuti ang revenue target kasi expenditures ay hindi naman open bar yan sa isang restaurant. Tapos ang bill ibibigay sa tax collecting agencies. Pangalawa, spend taxes well. Because if we demand a receipt for goods sold, the people are also entitled to the resibo of government projects financed by the taxes they paid. For good spending is the best way to encourage tax compliance. People are naturally resistant to taxes, but their tax obedience can be won if they will see how the taxes they paid are spent for the right things at the right price by the right agency at the right time. That is exactly why we are allocating funds to where it matters most. 5 to 6% of GDP for infrastructure spending, 4% of GDP to education, and roughly 4% of GDP to health, agriculture, and social welfare to uplift the lives of Filipinos. We also continue to manage our debt according to the highest standards of fiscal discipline, for we are very vigilant not to max out the Philippine National Credit Card. What people need to understand is that when the Marcos Jr. administration took over in 2022, minana po namin ang 12.8 trillion pesos na utang ng mga nakaraang administrasyon. And we are still repaying these large debts incurred during the pandemic, while continuously investing in our people. And even with this, we are making improvements on our debt matrix. If you compare it with our neighbors, our debt is relatively lower than that of most countries in Asia. Japan's total debt is 485.94 trillion pesos. India at 116.84 trillion pesos. Singapore at 53.68 trillion pesos. South Korea at 46.89 trillion pesos. Indonesia at 31.37 trillion pesos. And Thailand's at 17.73 trillion pesos. We are in the middle of the pack in terms of our national government debt and general government debt to GDP ratios, which calculate our ability to pay. About 69% of our outstanding debt is domestic. Kaya hindi po kayo dapat mabahala. Dahil ang utang na ito galing po sa sarili natin. Ibig sabihin, karamihan ng interes ng ating binabayad ay napupunta rin lang bilang dagdag na kita ng ating mga kababayan. We also strategically favor long-term obligations to reduce our reliance on short-term debt. And we will continue to adopt a borrowing mix in favor of local sources to take advantage of domestic liquidity and mitigate foreign exchange risks. Overall, we will make sure that the economy will continue to outgrow the country's debt to ensure our ability to pay for our obligations. If we strictly adhere to our medium-term fiscal program and maintain efficient spending, the size of the economy is projected to reach 42.6 trillion pesos by 2030, while keeping our debt at 24.7 trillion pesos, equivalent to 58% of GDP. This is well within sustainable levels. And you have every reason to be confident that we are managing our obligations prudently, that our financing strategy is clear. In fact, global credit rating agencies affirm this. This is the reason why we earned a credit rating upgrade from R&I, an outlook upgrade from S&P, and consistently high grades from other international agencies. They see what we are seeing: strong macroeconomic fundamentals, prudent debt management, high growth potential, moderate debt burden, and a stable banking system. As I wrap up my presentation, let me assure the honorable members of the Senate that we are making good, steady progress on our economic goals, and the impact of our policy decisions is now being felt. Around the world, inflation is expected to average 4.2% this year. But in the Philippines, we already brought it down to just 0.9% in July. The global economy is forecasted to grow by only 3% this year. But the Philippines is expected to expand at almost twice that pace. In fact, for the last 3 years, since President Marcos Jr. took office, we grew at an average of 5.9%, among the fastest in Asia. Considering the heavy debt we inherited, the higher policy rates, and the global headwinds from geopolitical tensions and trade wars, growing by 5.9% is no small feat. This is the highest among the past administrations, second only to the Aquino III administration, which started with a lighter debt load. We are also creating more jobs than ever. Since we took over in 2022, we have created roughly 6 million jobs on average, the highest compared to the past administrations. From just 33 million employed in 2006, we now have a record of 50.5 million Filipinos at work, and 31.8 million of them have formal, stable jobs. Ibig sabihin, patuloy na lumalakas ang ating middle class. As opportunities grow, so too does our consumer market, our people's quality of life, and our fight against poverty. By 2030, inaasahan ng Pilipinas ay magiging 13th largest consumer market sa buong mundo, with roughly 80 million in the middle class. Today, more or less, nasa mga 40 million. In 2023, we have already lifted 2.5 million Filipinos out of poverty since the pandemic. And we will make sure to lift 8 million more Filipinos out of poverty by the end of the president's term. This means dropping our poverty rate to single digits or 9%. This is the be-all and end-all of all our efforts, as this is the definitive indicator that our growth has translated into real improvements in the lives of Filipinos through more and better jobs, higher levels of education, and healthier lives. But we cannot achieve this all on our own. Kailangan po natin ang tulong, gabay, at suporta nyo sa Senado. To the honorable members of the Senate, the 2026 proposed budget of 6.793 trillion pesos that you will enact will help us get there. So let's ensure that it is a budget that works as hard as the people who fund it, the taxpayers. Let us operate within the parameters of the medium-term fiscal program that reduces our deficit and that gradually creates jobs, increases income, and decreases poverty. And above all, let us never lose sight of our core mission to deliver on the promise of a better life that every Filipino rightfully deserves under Bagong Pilipinas. Maraming salamat po at mabuhay ang Bagong Pilipinas.
Thank you very much, Senator Recto. Secretary Recto pala. Nasanay na ako, Senator Recto. Secretary Balisacan, do you have any opening statements?
No, we made our presentation yesterday, Your
Okay.
Honor.
Yes. All right. To continue our question and answer portion, yes, with the indulgence of our colleagues, yesterday some senators came here to register their intention to ask questions. However, due to lack of time, we didn't manage to call them. So we will, in order, we will recognize Senator Tulfo, Senator Erwin Tulfo, Senator Mark Villar, Senator Hontiveros, and then yours truly, the chair, will ask their questions to finish the first round, and then we will proceed with the second round, starting with Senator Lacson and so on. All right. So we recognize Senator Tulfo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I would like to take this opportunity with the indulgence of the committee, of course. I wish to raise what appears to be either a serious lapse in judgment or a deliberate maneuver in the 2026 National Expenditure Program. I noticed, I was looking at it last night, nakita ko po na may mga tila flood control projects sa Antique at Iloilo. Same amount, 149,750,000 each. At hindi man lang ginawang 149 flat o isa na lang sa 150 para may pangkape. Pare-pareho po ang halaga hanggang sa huling piso. Nilagyan pa ng butal para hindi po halata. My question now, I will direct this to the DBM. Can you explain, Madam, bakit nagkaroon po ng exact duplication of amount for flood control projects in Antique and Iloilo? Hindi po ba dapat iba-iba ang costing depending on the terrain, materials, at scope of work? Mr. Chair?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, sir. Ito po, nanggaling po to sa proposal ng DPWH. Hindi po kaya ng DBM i-check, wala po sa mandato ng DBM i-check isa-isa lahat po ng projects na binibigay. The volume of DPWH budget has 700 plus pages and the total line items is about 15,000. Malinaw po sa budget call na special ang nature ng project proposal pag DPWH po. Nakalagay po sa budget call na sagot po yan ng DPWH given that they have the expertise and the people to check. Sila rin po ang bumababa sa grounds with their district engineers hanggang sa RDC level po. So pagkatapos sa RDC level approval, that's when they give it to the central office and then the central office is the one who finalizes the proposal to DBM. Ang DBM po at DBCC po ang nagbibigay lang ng level for DPWH of their budget. Yung level lang po kung magkano yung budget nila. Like for this year, roughly na 875 billion pesos. Yung loob po, we don't touch it. Nakasama po yan sa budget call. Given po na wala po kaming expertise or even engineers to check each and every project sa DPWH.
So what you're saying, Mr. Chair, ito po ay request ng DPWH tapos isinumite po sa DBM na aaprubahan. Bakit hindi po, ang tanong po natin, hindi po ba napansin ang identical figures? Wala po ba tayong technical working group or people to check yung pong sinumite sa inyo ng mga budget na pare-pareho na po ang itsura up to the last peso? Kasi ang susunod po na tanong ko dyan, hindi po ba naitanong ninyo or the mga tao niyo, pero sabi niyo nga po, wala po kayong kakayahan to check with this. Kasi my next question would be, were the scope of work also identical? Kasi po pare-pareho yung budget, ibig sabihin po, pare-pareho po yung scope of work. Siyempre, at tapos, pero I don't think so kasi iba-iba ho ito yung nandyan po yung sinasabi, yung terrain, nandyan po yung costing, sa dalawang provinces po, magkakaiba po yung sinasabing, what do you call this, costing po niyan. Kasi iba-iba naman po ang terrain, iba-iba naman po ang sukat, pero pare-pareho po ito, Madam Chair, or Mr. Chair.
Wala po kami, Mr. Chair, wala po kaming ganong expertise to check. We assume that the DPWH already knows what they're doing given their mandate and then given the number of employees that they have, the professional background and experience that they have. So hindi po namin alam po ang program of works ng mga projects ng ito.
The President po already stipulated or stated yesterday, I think, or the other day, na may nakikita po siya suspiciously na he believes are insertions. And I've also received reports because we are already investigating these flood control projects na may mga questionable po. May mga balita po kasi natatanggap na dito po hahabulin sa NEP, hindi po sa BICAM because nabulgar na po yung BICAM, yung Bicameral Conference Committee, na doon po nagkakaroon ng insertions. Hindi po kaya susubukan ngayon ng mga ahensya na dito ikarga ngayon sa NEP para hindi po maghinala ang dalawang kapulungan, Mr. Chair?
Mr. Chair, I cannot answer po dun sa mga insertions na yan. I leave it that to the department. So tomorrow po, actually the other day, because of what's happening, nag-usap na po kami ng bagong kalihim ng DPWH at pinapa-check na po sa kanya, isa-isa, itong mga proyektong ito po. Kung paano po ipinasok ng mga taga DPWH at saka ano ang ginamit nilang formula at kung paano po nila na-identify itong mga proyekto na to na pinropose po nila sa National Expenditure Program.
All right. Mr. Chair, sa DOF naman, Department of Finance, how do you justify releasing funds per projects, Mr. Chair, with suspicious uniform costing? Doesn't this open a window for corruption or overpricing, Mr. Chair? Let me just say this outright po. This looks dry, very suspicious. In engineering, you don't get the same costs to the last peso on two different projects in two different provinces, unless, of course, you are copy-pasting, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The DOF collects revenues. We do not release money. We only release money if there is an NCA or a SARO request or NCA in terms of cash pag hiningi ng DBM.
All right, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, with your indulgence, I have three more questions.
Mr. Just to pursue the point being raised by Senator Tulfo, with his permission, of course, this is
Yes.
related to Secretary DBM. What do you propose that Congress should do to address this problem? Because definitely these are major red flags. We counted, yesterday we were discussing this with the chairman, Senator Gatchalian, and we counted from NCR to Region 3 alone, flood control management 1, nasa mga 500 items. Yung exact amounts, similar amounts of 75 million each, 100 million each, 120 million each, 150 million each. Red flag po ito eh. So I'd like to propose that by your leave, Mr. Chairman, that we should schedule an executive session. Way forward po ito. Kasi with your guidance, we are willing to amend and delete all these similarly parang costed projects, yung similar cost, but we want to know ano yung direction ng national government, saan namin dadalhin if we delete all these items. Kasi yung huling bilang namin, yung 100 items, 373 items na tigwa 100 million, that's already 37.3 billion. So as of our initial count, nasa mga 50 billion pesos na yung pare-pareho, yung red flag. So maybe, Mr. Chairman, we can schedule an executive session para i-guide nila tayo ng executive branch kasi they cannot do anything about this anymore. We're already in the authorization phase of the budget process. Tapos na yung preparation phase eh. Ngayon, para i-allow namin kayo makialam ng konti, at least you can give us the proper guidance or direction. Kung i-delete namin lahat itong red flag na ito na mga items, saan namin dadalhin? Para naka-align doon sa inyong direction under the PDP, medium term. Okay?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, we agree po. Actually, we already had initial talks with the chairman. As that, alam na po niya.
Nun, yung similar.
Yes po.
Nagulat din kami kahapon nung pinakita niya yung iPad niya. Hindi matapos-tapos siya pang scroll sa dami.
Apo.
Thank you.
And then maybe may iba pa pong makikita si Secretary Vince because Secretary Vince is already investigating ito pong mga doble-doble, pare-parehong pangalan. We will sit, I think today po, kakausapin niya yung mga senior officers niya and then we'll meet tomorrow and hopefully in the next week po siguro meron na siyang report which he can share po to the committee.
Mr. Chairman, Madam Secretary, pag yung mga contractors have invaded the House of Representatives and congressmen have invaded the contractor construction business, ito po yung outcome. Kasi NEP pa lang, pinapayagan na sila ng DPWH to make insertions. Ang tama po sa atin dito, hindi po isang WAMI, hindi double WAMI, hindi triple WAMI, quadruple WAMI. NEP may insertion, House Gov may insertion, Senate version may insertion, BICAM may insertion, quadruple WAMI po ang tama ng Pilipino rito, if you agree.
We agree po.
Yeah, thank you.
Definitely po.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Mr.
Chairman.
Chair.
And Senator Tulfo, maraming salamat.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, additional information with the indulgence of Senator Erwin.
Go ahead.
Salamat, Mr. Chair. Sana po ang DBM sa paghahanda para sa executive session or sa pagpapatuloy ng line of action na inagrihan kasama ni Chair to seek also the assistance of other offices, particularly DENR, Water PMO, at saka yung River Basin Control Office. Kasi ito po yung mga may technical capacity at mandate na mag-certify. Sila yung nagpo-provide ng check and balance sa DPWH para i-certify na yung mga proyekto sa NEP at sa GAB ay consistent dun sa mga approved river basin at saka flood master plan. So, sana po yung DBM makumbinsi din or ma-encourage itong ibang mga opisina i-assert yung kanilang mandato. Salamat, Mr. Chair at Senator Erwin.
Secretary, you want to
Yes po. Yesterday po, we made mention of a new program po together with NEDA, yung convergence budgeting po. And number one on the priority po is yung mga flood control and water resource management projects po. Para po hindi piecemeal yung approach and budgeting ng mga flood control projects. Siguro po talagang kailangan na pati po NIA. And then good yung suggestion niyo po kanina, it was also raised by Senator Marcoleta during the first Blue Ribbon Committee na hindi po nasasama yung River Basin yung office po na yon. Opo. So while Secretary Popo Lotilla sits in the convergence budgeting, I think it's also wise to invite that office po.
Salamat, Mr. Chair.
go ahead,
Yes,
Senator.
Mr. Chair, I have 4 more questions left. Gusto ko po sana maniwala na hindi po double appropriations po yan, pero doon ho lumalabas mukhang ilang taon na po nangyayari in double appropriations. But anyway, let me move to the allocations by province.
Sir, from our end lang po, just to add lang, meron po kaming proseso sa DBM po, assuming po na even sa GAA, magkaroon ng double appropriation, hindi po yun marirelease.
All right. Let me move on to the allocation by province, Mr. Chair. Ayon po sa NEP, here are the figures. Nueva Ecija, 3 billion po ang flood control. Apayao, 2.2 billion. Kalinga, 2.7 billion. Mr. Chair, the question now is, ano po ang criteria ng DBM in allocating this flood control budgets? Bakit sobrang laki ng pondo sa ilang probinsya, samantalang mas flood-prone areas po gaya ng Metro Manila, Pampanga, Bulacan at Cavite ay hindi kasing laki ang nakukuha? Do these provinces even have the absorptive capacity for projects of this scale, Mr. Chair?
Same way po, yung pag-identify ng flood control projects, nagsimula po yon sa DPWH from the district engineer, their regional offices, and then umakyat po sa RDC, and then pag-approve po sa RDC, dinadala po nila sa central office, and then it is the central office who prioritizes po the identification of these projects po. So kasama din po yan dun sa pag-aaralan po ng DPWH kung itutuloy pa yung mga proyektong yan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, kasi kung titingnan po natin, parang hindi po tugma ang allocation sa actual vulnerability po sa baha. Now, can the DBM categorically state under oath na wala pong political influence dito? Because the numbers look highly irregular po. 3 billion for Nueva Ecija, 2.7 billion for Kalinga, 2.2 billion for Apayao, and yet these are not even among the top flood-prone provinces. May way forward po ba ang DBM now to check baka yung NEP na kargahan, baka doon sa NEP nagkaroon ng insertion. Kasi nga po, nag-iimbestiga na tayo ngayon, nagkakahulihan po ngayon na doon mukhang sa BICAM nagkakaroon ng mga insertions. So, hindi kaya baka dito sa NEP nagkaroon ng insertions because I have received reports na susubukan ng ilan na magpasok o kargahan, magkaroon ng insertion sa NEP pa lamang, Mr. Chair?
Sir, yung oath, baka hindi ko po kaya kasi hindi po akong nag-identify, hindi po DBM ang nag-identify ng mga proyekto. Baka bawal, baka hindi po, baka ako magka-problema because I really don't know po. No? I'm not a lawyer and I don't think it's proper for me to, yung oath na yon. But moving forward, meron na po kaming ginagawang guidelines and nag-usap na po kami together with my team and then we'll come up with a baka IT system po and yung submission ng DPWH baka kailangan early on para we'll have more time to really check each and every project. Moving forward, rest assured po that we will try to do something po para maiwasan po yung mga ganitong problema. Uupuan po namin to ni Secretary Vince Dizon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I just want to make a statement, then I will just ask the next round. Mr. Chairman, let me now raise what many of us have been whispering in the halls. These are not allocations based on the need. These look like political insertions. And mind you, hindi po ako ang nagsabi niyan. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. himself in public statements acknowledged that certain insertions in the 2026 NEP, especially for flood control, were questionable. Mr. Chair, these figures do not inspire confidence. Kung may mga kopya-kopyang project cost at highly uneven distribution of flood control budgets, ang tanong po ng taong bayan, saan talaga napupunta po ang pera? Are we protecting the communities or are we protecting political interests? Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Tulfo.